Welcome to Humble and Hungryyy. I'm Emily, and this is my tiny corner of the internet dedicated to living a happier and healthier life. Here on Humble and Hungryyy, I'm sharing with you my own personal health and wellness story through the advice of expert guests and published reports. On today's episode, I want to talk to you about a part of my journey that's really relatable to many women. And that's just the struggle to accept and celebrate my body through all of the ups and downs. I think I really had this problem because I didn't grow up really seeing myself represented anywhere. But today, young women aren't in the same situation. I may not be perfect, but there's many more celebrities, influencers, and clothing brands that are more inclusive. So today, I'm really excited to share with you my conversation with Caralyn Mirand Koch. Her experience as a model and her business experience landed her in a place to directly impact the way women can celebrate and accept their own bodies. Now, Caralyn has hundreds and thousands of followers on Instagram. In her fashion and lifestyle tips, don't celebrate or glamorize any one specific type of body. She shows people that wherever they are in their journey, they should feel comfortable and confident right now where they are. So let's go over and take a look at my conversation with Caralyn. Hi, Caralyn, and thank you so much for joining me here on Humble and Hungryyy.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for thinking of me.
Of course. Now, everyone, if there's anyone out there who doesn't know Caralyn Mirand Koch describes herself as a plus size model, confidence crusader, and an undergarment expert. Caralyn has a massive following on social media, and I always have enjoyed following her, and I'm so happy to have her here today. So thank you again. Can you tell us a little bit about how your career started?
Absolutely. So I am just so happy to be here. So thank you. I know we have a lot of fun things to talk about, but I think it would help to give some perspective on kind of how I got here. When I was a senior in high school, I was submitting applications for college. My mom told me to go online and look up some scholarship information. Instead of doing that, I was posting my senior glam shots on the interwebs. Tyra Banks was having a teen plus size modeling competition. So if you were a teenager and above a size 12, you were eligible to compete. So long story short, I ended up being runner-up of her competition, which was aired on her daytime TV show, The Tyra Show. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh yeah, of course.
Cool. So I was runner-up, and my 17-year-old self was crushed. I thought this was the end of the road for me. Little did I know really that this was just the beginning. And went to college. I went to Clarkson University, graduated with a dual bachelor's degree in innovation entrepreneurship, so business, and also psychology. And like many of my peers, I was, faced with what next. And I felt like I never really gave modeling a fair shot because I kind of went right into school after the whole Tyra Show experience happened. So I decided to pursue modeling and see, what was going to come of it. I was signed throughout college, but I was living in Potsdam, New York, which is about as far north as you can get in New York State, and about 2.5 hours from regional airport. So I was kind of going back and forth and moved back home to Buffalo, where we're about 10 minutes from an airport, and began flying out every other week or so, and working full time as a curve model. And then about 3 years into that, it was becoming really important to have a social media presence. Brands were not only looking at you and your stats and your measurements, but they were also looking at your Instagram profile. And I vividly remember walking into a casting, which is kind of like an interview type thing for models. And the first question they asked me was, how many followers do you have on Instagram? This was 2016. And I proudly stood up and I was like, I have 10,000 followers. And the guy laughed in my face and he was like, you better step it up, honey. And for me, that was like such a pivotal moment of like, oh my goodness, like what is social media? Why does anyone care about how many followers I have? And if I have to grow, how am I going to do that? So for me, I took a real deep dive into, what that was and what that path was going to look like. And I know and knew that anyone could post a beautiful photo, but I wanted to start thinking about who were the people that I wanted to follow me. And at the time, I had a predominantly male following. I was being shared by a bunch of curvy model fan accounts, and a lot of the audience was international. And so I really wanted to think about attracting more women to my page and adding and providing value in some way. And really all I knew at the time was things that I was learning on set as a model. So hair and makeup and tips for getting dressed and how to style a curvy body. And also, I was also working as a lingerie fit model. So I would stand in boardrooms listening to the technical construction of how these garments are made, how they're supposed to fit. And so I just kind of became this sponge of the things that I was learning. And I've tried to figure out how I could translate that to the everyday woman, and not necessarily having it all figured out or knowing it all. I kind of wanted to just take my audience along on this journey with me to figure it out myself. And then, fast forward 6 years later, now I'm full-time content creator, completely flipped. I think 90% women now. And this is my full-time thing. So I don't know if there are lots of holes and gaps in there, but I'm sure we'll circle back.
No, that's so fascinating. That's it sounds like, you had a mission to grow the Instagram, but it also kind of came together naturally with what you were doing anyways. So yeah. It's so interesting.
Yeah. And you know what? For so long, it was so important about that number at the top of your profile. You had to hit these certain milestones to be relevant or be important. But I think for me personally, when I stopped caring about that number and I started focusing on who I had there already and taking care of them and catering to their needs and their requests, is when things really started to click for me. And I kind of began cultivating this community where I was learning from them, they were learning from me, and we're kind of just taking this journey together on figuring out all the things: fashion, beauty, undergarments, life, more serious things, and kind of everything in between.
Yeah, I have to say, obviously I follow a lot of like influencers and stuff on social media, but you're someone who definitely, you can tell, like, talks to people like they're your friends. And I think that's so impactful and nice to people. I mean, that's probably why I felt comfortable reaching out to you, because you could just tell that you like are invested in who is following you.
Thanks. It's really incredible. And I think honestly, growing scares me a little bit because I never want to lose sight of who my girls are and taking care of them and catering that to them. And I think about talking to my sister. I think about talking to my mom. I think one of the best compliments I've ever received is, my daughter and I both follow you. Like that is the best compliment, because I'm able to connect and reach. We might not be in the same phase of life, but maybe we both have something to learn from each other. And I think I've never lost sight of that. It is just staying kind of true to my roots and not seeing myself as above anyone else. Like, we're all in this together. We're all on this journey called life, and we're all just trying to figure it out and feel good in the skin that we're in, right?
Yeah, that actually leads kind of right into my next question. I was looking at your website and you said something that was important to you is like making women feel beautiful and confident.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a simple question, but just like, why is that so important to you?
I think, for me, it just thinking back as a middle schooler or a high schooler and flipping through magazines and not seeing anyone who looked like me or anyone who had curves really being represented. And I think, coming from the modeling industry, it's grown so much. We're able to look now in an ad or, any sort of website, and you're able to see so much more representation than we ever did before. We still have a long way to go, but I think it's beyond women, just people in general, I think deserve to feel good in the skin that they're in. And, I might not relate to everyone, but I think that message is important, and you deserve to feel good today, just as you are, not in 20 pounds less or 20 pounds more, wherever you're at in life. Today, just as you are right now, you deserve to feel good, period.
I should just end it. That's it.
Really, like, let that soak in for a minute. I feel like so many people get caught up in like, oh, well, when I hit this milestone, or if I, get married, or if I do this, or if I do that, then I'll start taking care of myself, or then I'll start doing this. It's life is short. Life is not promised or guaranteed in any way. So I think focusing on today and trying to find what feels right and feels good to you is really important. And I know it's easier said than done, but I like to say it's a journey, not a final destination.
Sure. I know I shared with you, like, something important to me is kind of like combating like weight loss, like discrimination. Like they call that like the silent form of discrimination. And people that have had like weight issues know what that means, but other people don't, and I think something about your work that kind of tackles that from a few angles, just naturally, is that like one, people who follow you, it's just like, it helps normalize like all different sizes, obviously. And it also helps all of like, I know there's a lot of like inclusive sizing and work you do. And not only does it normalize different sizes, but it also makes women who are different sizes, like, just have access to pretty clothes. And like when I was in high school, I remember homecoming, I couldn't go to the mall and get a dress.
Yes.
And
yes.
like, that's still something I think about. And I'm, a little bit over my 20s and I'm still thinking about that. So I just think that work you do is so important. And so thank you, first of all. It's important to me. I appreciate that. But what's the experience like doing that? Like, I know you work with some major brands with inclusive sizing. Like what is that like?
So I think it'd be helpful a little bit to give a little bit of context. So I started as a plus size model, and sometimes people get really offended by that term. So if you want to call me full figured or curvy, whatever feels good for me, plus size at the time was an industry term. Plus sizes begin at a size 12. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud to represent curvy plus size women. I definitely am, the beginning segment of that. So I kind of find myself in this new term that's kind of popped up over the past few years as an in-betweener. So if you're not familiar with that term, it's I'm usually the largest size in standard sizing. So I'm like a full 14, and the smallest sizing usually in plus sizing. So sometimes an extra large is too small, and sometimes a 1X is too big. So I kind of straddle this line, which is actually a great place to be, if I say so myself, because I'm able to find and seek out brands that cater to the full extended run. So my favorite thing ever is to be able to post and share clothes that go from extra, extra small to a 5X. Like that's fantastic. That, it goes on both sides of the spectrum, right? Petites and smaller people as well. That, I think it's great to have that option. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. To answer your question, we said, what's it like to
just like work with brands that are working on like all inclusive sizing? Like, I know you've posted about like trips, helping brands to kind of like expand like their like variety of clothes and stuff. So that just seems so like it's sort of like navigating a new frontier probably for some companies. So I just think that seems like it would be just interesting to know more about.
Absolutely. So I think now more than ever, the consumer is getting more savvy and rightfully more demanding than ever. And people now have a voice that they didn't have before social media, and brands are starting to take note, and it's affecting their bottom line. If you want to do smart and good business, you need to cater to the average or above average size woman in America. The average size woman in America right now is a size 16, and most brands stop at a large or extra large, which is a 14. So it's not only a matter of, being inclusive, but it's also a matter of being a smart business. And so for me, kind of being able to bridge the gap between the consumer and the brand, I've found myself in this really unique space. And something I've been really passionate about is working with these brands and teaching them and showing them that, the plus size consumer wants to shop. They want to buy. They don't want to go to the other section in the far right back corner and shop the plus size rack. They want to shop with their girlfriends on the same rack as they're shopping. I think a great example of a brand who's done it really well is Old Navy. Old Navy recently launched everything that they offer up to a 4X in stores and online. It's all on the same rack. It's all on the same product page when you shop online. And you're able to see different body types in their clothes. So for me, it's just been a really fun challenge to kind of help brands see the light a little bit. And it truly brings me joy because, again, I kind of find myself in this in-between space. I'm hearing what people are saying and wanting, and I have the connections to be able to bring that to the brand and say, you guys need to do better. It's past time.
Yeah. So you're like consulting with these brands, but you're also getting to share what you think is worth it with people too.
Absolutely. And also documenting the journey, and showing the brand's progress. And, not everyone's going to get it right all the time, and that's okay. But I think as long as the brands are coming from a place of, we want to do better, we want to, cater to our customers, and then what more can you ask for?
That's so cool. What kind of feedback do you get from women?
Oh man, I get anything and everything you could imagine, the good, bad, and the ugly. I get a lot of personal questions, which I am tickled by because I feel honored that they feel comfortable enough to ask or to feel comfortable to ask that question. Everything under the sun, from undergarments, what bra should I wear with this dress, what shoes should I wear with this top, to personal questions, laser hair removal. I mean, we've literally talked about it all. So
That's awesome. And I know something you talk a lot about is undergarments and like having a properly fitting bra, and like that's like super important, obviously, to you and for women in general. Why is that so important? And can you tell us about like what you do with that?
Yes. So when I was working in a showroom as a lingerie fit model, I was wearing like sheer bras and underwear, and I was standing in a boardroom of like 15 people, and I was so uncomfortable. And the way that I kind of got through it was just listening to the conversations and understanding how the bras are made, how they're supposed to fit, and learning that 8 out of 10 women are wearing the incorrect bra size. 8 out of 10, like that is crazy. So I just kind of began talking about what I was learning about proper fit, and how bras were supposed to fit, and different bras that you can wear with different garments. Bras are like shoes, right? You're not going to necessarily wear your sneakers with a ball gown. You don't necessarily need to wear your sports bra with, everything you own. So I think really it just kind of happened naturally. And I kind of discovered this passion for helping people find their undergarments. And people listening might be like, oh, this is so surface level, like talking about bras and clothes. But if you just give me a chance here and you think about it, your bras, your undergarments, they set your foundation. So, you put your bra on, and then you put your dress on, and then your dress just fits a little bit better, and it's just easier to get dressed. And you're like, wow, okay, that was easy. And then, you're standing up a little taller, you're feeling a little bit more confident. And then that kind of creates a ripple effect of it carries into your day and your world, your life. And, there's just, I call it the bra-ha moment, when somebody is fitted for the first time, and, the boobs are in the spot that they're supposed to be in. And again, they feel supported, and they feel like getting dressed is going to be a lot easier, and their posture is better. It just creates this ripple effect. And so for me, it was just like, no one was telling me about this. I would have never known. So I figured maybe someone else didn't know this either. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about shapewear. Let's talk about these topics that aren't really talked about or aren't really glamorous or sexy to talk about. And let's kind of normalize it. And so that's really how it all began. And so I would encourage people to go get fitted at a local specialty shop here in Buffalo. We have a fantastic spot called Lace and Day. If you're in the area, they're amazing. And also Nordstrom's are great. So when people would message me and say, oh, I went to my local specialty shop and I got fitted for a bra, I would say, welcome to the club, like welcome to the Proper Bra Club. And from there, it's really grown. And, there's always something to talk about. There's constantly topics and tips and advice. I know a lot of people post-pandemic, their clothes aren't maybe fitting the way that they used to, or their bras aren't fitting the way that they're used to. And just kind of normalizing that it's okay to change sizes. We're constantly changing and evolving, and our bra size does too.
Oh my God, you'd probably be horrified. Like, I probably haven't had a bra fitting in like years. Okay. And I've gone down a rabbit hole before, like looking at stuff you posted from people, like comments and your advice and stuff. And I'm like, I need to do this, but
yes, I'll go
motivating me.
I will. And no judgment. I think that's another thing too, is like, we're all learning. I somehow found myself in this space as an expert, but I didn't know until I knew. So no shame, no judgment ever, but I would challenge you to get a fitting and see how it feels.
Yeah, there's definitely nothing worse than like if you're walking by a mirror to me and you like see the like how your bra's like changing your shirt, or like, you know what I mean? And you're like, oh no, and then you realize, oh, I actually feel that. Like, I actually like know that that's uncomfortable.
If you are thinking about your bra or underwear or shapewear throughout the day, it doesn't fit. It's not right for you.
It's great advice. It's really good advice. That's why you're here. Okay.
You're not off the hook for a fitting.
I know. I do need to go. I should go to Lace and Day. I've actually never been. Yeah. I've always wanted to go there. I guess just to like summarize, the reason why I was so happy to have you here is like my whole mission with Humble and Hungryyy is for people to live like a happier and healthier life. And I think the content you produce and the different things you talk about like help people like get there. Like people say like, oh, that's a great new place I can get clothes, or et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to thank you so much. I think my audience is probably going to really love hearing from you. So I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Never hesitate to reach out if you think of something, or anyone listening thinks of something. We'll be happy to answer and chat.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much.
Of course.
Thanks again to Caralyn for joining me here on Humble and Hungryyy. I really love how Caralyn's story shows that if you be yourself and use your talents, you can find your own unique path to success. I also loved hearing from someone who has eyes and ears into the fashion industry and understands how brands are implementing extended sizing. I just hate the thought of girls and boys growing up thinking that beautiful and comfortable clothing is just not made for them. Obviously, everyone deserves to feel beautiful and comfortable and confident in their own clothes. And I really appreciate that brands are starting to offer extended sizing. But I'm also really interested in why this is such a good business decision. So, with a quick Google search, I found an article from Forbes that said that plus size fashion industry is growing at twice the rate of total apparel in the US. This means that women who used to think they didn't have a place in fashion should really understand how powerful they are. With this in mind, I think it's a perfect time to head over to my Humble and Hungryyy Happy Thoughts. It's time now for my Humble and Hungryyy Happy Thoughts. The first thought for today is a quote that says, "Inclusion is not bringing people into what already exists. It is making a new space and a better space for everyone." The second Humble and Hungryyy Happy Thought is just a quote I love about why you should have confidence. And that is, be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind. Thank you so much for joining me here for this episode of Humble and Hungryyy.